Welcome back to Formula One in 2025. Our season continues.
Formula One has been around for almost 7 decades now. The game that was initiated on the bones of World War II has become a global sensation for motorsport lovers around the globe. Over these decades, these fans have witnessed the glorious transformation of what started as a gentleman's death race into today's billion-dollar circus of speed, tech and drama.
They've gone into each other! Detonation for the Alpines.
Golden rule number 1, don't run into your teammate.
From small privateer teams fighting on the grid in their cars that look more like a bathtub on wheels than race machines, to large brands and millionaires teams racing in sleek and aerodynamic cars, F1 fans have gone through various seasons of this sport. These fans have seen how FIA rules have kept teams on their toes and engineers tearing out their hair. One year it's no more V10s, the next we're banning tyre blankets.
Lewis gets such a launch off the top of turn 3. And I'm afraid Nico Rosberg has got to take.
In one decade, there is Honda giving trauma to McLaren fans, and in the other, there are Renault engines making Red Bull fans weep. In short, different rules and regulations have always given headaches to drivers and engineers, but a lot of drama, fun, and memes to F1 fans. By the way, we are building a community of Formula One fans where they can enjoy memes, drama, and the glory of this motorsport world without any interruption, so hit the subscribe button to get the part of it. Now, the FIA believes that F1 has started becoming boring for fans, so they have decided to stir things up by adding new rules and regulations in 2025 and 2026.
It's a Lacey and Heidfeld. I don't know what's happened, but it's the poor Alain Prost.
Well, 2025 is more of a change in rules, but 2026 is the real beast. The FIA is really stirring up the whole F1 world with their 2026 regulations. What are these? How has F1 been changed in 2025 and 2026? Well, I'm going to delve deeper into the details here, so please stay with me until the end, and don't worry, I'll not make it boring. In fact, you'll find that a lot of drivers and teams are throwing tantrums at new rules and regulations. Let's start this beast with simple but devastating 2025 rules. Drivers and car weight changes. In the 2025 season, Formula One slightly increased the minimum weight of the car plus driver package from 798 kilograms to 800 kilograms, and the minimum driver weight from 80 kilograms to 82 kilograms. On the surface, it's just 2 extra kilos, but in the hyper-precise world of F1, that's basically an earthquake. So this rule is forcing every team to treat their drivers as 82 kilograms. But why does this rule matter? Well, to give heavier drivers a fairer shot. Historically, lighter drivers like Yuki Tsunoda or Prix Daniel Ricciardo allow teams to add ballast strategically to optimize the car's balance.
Lance was in the middle of the weight, so they don't look the mirrors.
Yeah, copy, I've seen that.
There it is.
Heavier drivers like George Russell or Esteban Ocon didn't have that luxury because their bodies were the ballast, just less conveniently placed. This small tweak helps even the playing field a bit more. It ensures teams can't gain setup advantages just by hiring a featherweight and feeding them salad all year. Goodbye to Red Bull's strategy of hiring lighter drivers such as Vettel and Sergio Perez. But where this rule is giving a breathing room to all the bulky drivers, it is making teams and engineers panic. The hard-working engineers were already losing sleep shaving millimeters off front wings, and now they have to redesign setups for 2 kilos.
The drivers are thinking about moves further back in the pack, including George Russell.
This was a disaster for them, keeping cool in the heat. Do you remember the brutal 2023 Qatar Grand Prix? It was over 30.5 degrees Celsius, and drivers vomited in their helmets and nearly passed out from heat exhaustion. After seeing their worst condition, the FIA finally said, "Okay, enough. Now, if the temperature is forecast above 30.5 degrees Celsius, all teams are required to install a battery-powered cooling system inside the car." The star of the show is a high-tech cooling vest with nearly 48 meters of tubing, developed in partnership with Chill Out Motorsports. These vests circulate chilled fluid, air, water, or FIA-approved coolant around the driver's body, like a portable air conditioner wrapped in Nomex. Cars will also be fitted with extra air ducts and a nose scoop to accommodate the system, which adds an extra 5 kilograms to the minimum weight of the car. Though this regulation has helped drivers a lot, engineers and teams are getting an extreme headache. No cussing rule. The best thing about Formula One is the frustrated and angry radio messages of different drivers. Listening to George Russell's yelling and Yuki Tsunoda's cussing on the radio adds spice to the race. But F1 officials decided that it is inappropriate and reflects badly on their young audience, who are eagerly waiting to become the future Schumacher or Hamilton. So they introduced a no cussing rule for their drivers. Initially, they decided to be really strict with the penalties for cursing, but after a series of passive-aggressive radio messages and taunts from the media, the FIA toned down their penalties.
Man, is this guy blind? For f***'s sake, man! What the f***?
Initially, under the new rule, drivers could be fined up to €40,000, or even face suspensions and race bans for using offensive language that could allegedly cause moral injury to officials or damage the FIA's reputation. Predictably, drivers were not thrilled. Max Verstappen, never one to hold his tongue, simply muttered better not to talk after a race, hinting that even honest frustration could now land him in hot water. Yuki Tsunoda was also not thrilled and tried very hard not to let any curse words slip from his tongue, but, well, he couldn't control himself. But, after all of this drama, drivers and fans snapped. Drivers wanted to curse out their frustration on the radio, and fans wanted spicy radio messages. So, after just 6 races, the FIA backed off, dialing down the punishment. The maximum fine was cut in half, and now first offences can be suspended altogether. Most importantly, they dropped the threat of suspending or banning drivers entirely just for swearing. However, the rule still exists in a softer, more structured form. Drivers can get fined for swearing during press conferences or podium interviews, but team radio rants or mid-race F-bombs are generally safe, unless they directly insult FIA officials. If that happens, it's no longer about money. Here, we are talking grid penalties or time penalties. So, if you talk smack about your rival, you are good, but if you talk smack about a steward, you are starting P17. Fastest lap point gets the boot. The fastest lap bonus point has been completely scrapped. Originally brought back in 2019 to make races more exciting and reward clever late race strategies, it mostly became a gift for frontrunners with big gaps behind them, essentially letting top teams score even more, while the midfield watched helplessly. The tipping point came at the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix, when Daniel Ricciardo, in a non-title contending car, swooped in and stole the point from Lando Norris, a title hopeful. That one lap caused a ripple of fury in team boardrooms, with accusations flying that junior teams were interfering in title battles. Whether true or not, the optics weren't great. So now the FIA has decided to quietly toss the rule in the bin. The fastest lap still exists for pride, but no more bonus cookies for anyone. It's a move aimed at fairness, but also to avoid future soap operas involving backmarkers, pit stop trickery, and passive-aggressive radio messages. Expanded rookie FP1 running. Each F1 team must now run rookie driver in 4 FP1 sessions per season, 2 per car. That's double the rookie runtime from previous years, where teams only had to do it twice total. Now this is great for young talent. Drivers in Formula 2 and reserve roles now get real race weekend exposure, not just simulator seat time and awkward paddock interviews. But for the regular drivers, it's a bit like loaning your iPhone to a toddler. They are technically learning, but you know they are going to mess up your settings. Imagine being Fernando Alonso preparing for a tight season only to get benched in Fat for 1 while a 19-year-old named Luca from Formula Regional tries not to bin it into turn 3. It might be good for the future, but not for Alonso's blood pressure. With 24 races in 2025, that's 48 FP1 sessions across the grid that must now feature rookies. That significantly changes Friday prep, as teams have to carefully plan which sessions they are willing to sacrifice some setup time for. It also means certain Grand Prix like Monza or Baku might get a little spicier with new faces nervously tiptoeing around barriers while seasoned drivers sip espresso in the garage. Cancelled qualifying plan B. If qualifying gets rained out, snowed in, or otherwise yeeted by chaos, the current Drivers' Championship standings will now determine the grid. So yes, your points total might also decide your grid slot. It gives teams and fans clarity, especially after the confusing Brazil 2023 weekend, when nobody knew what counted as the last official session when things got soggy. Now, instead of scrambling like a Ferrari strategy team, we have a fallback plan. Drivers now have an even bigger reason to score early season points, not just to build a lead, but to avoid starting behind Logan Sargent in a downpour because qualifying got cancelled. And here's the twist, if it's race 1 of the season and nobody has any points yet, the stewards get total freedom to decide the starting order. Yes, you heard it right. They could rank it by FP1 times, last year's standings, or, if we are lucky, by a karaoke contest. Imagine Toto Wolff lobbying for a poll based on Lewis Hamilton's cover of Adele. And let's be honest, Nico Hülkenberg might finally get a front row start if the grid is randomised by stewards. So, hello to Silver Linings, Flexi-wings and DRS button. For 2025 and other seasons, Formula 1 is tightening the screws on flexible wings. They are clever aerodynamic designs that bend subtly under high-speed airflow to reduce drag without sacrificing cornering grip. Teams like McLaren had mastered the art of passing FIA's static load tests while still gaining sneaky speed advantages during races. It wasn't illegal in black and white terms, but it definitely smelled like grey area engineering, and the FIA has decided they have had enough of that game. Well, after their 2023 little airy trick, other teams' engineers also have had enough of them. That trick was so technical that fans couldn't see it and enjoy it, but this drained all the excitement from the grid. To stop the wing wizardry, the FIA tightened several technical measurements. Rear wing slot gaps now have a smaller range from 9.4 to 13mm, flex limits on the front wings have been reduced by 33%, and allowed bending has been slashed to just a few millimeters. Even DRS now has to open or shut in under 400 milliseconds, putting an end to any slow-motion mini DRS antics. Essentially, if your car's wings do a little dance mid-race, expect the FIA to rain on your aero parade. The motivation behind this rule is to preserve competitive fairness. Flexi-wings offered a loophole that rewarded technical trickery over outright performance. While some teams saw it as innovation, others cried foul, saying it distorted the playing field. Now, McLaren is in shock, engineers are working hard, and fans are trying to figure out how this rule is adding excitement on the grid. End of season tyre testing. This new 2025 regulation is tied to the 2026 drastic changes. For the Abu Dhabi post-season test, teams are now required to bring out their old but reliable mule cars.
It is time to answer the final question of the season. Who will we call the champion constructor of the world? And the season finale is underway!
These are cars that are built to match the future weight and aerodynamic profile of the 2026 generation, but using chassis that are 2 to 4 years old. The 2026 regulations are full of technical changes that we are going to discuss now, but for now, just know that 2026 cars are nothing like 2025 ones. Here, FIA wanted to test the tyres of every team to know how they will perform after the new regulations and how they should be re-engineered. As new cars haven't yet been finalised and teams don't want to expose their car engines and designs, mule cars serve as a testbed, a stand-in to simulate how these new tyres behave under semi-realistic loads. The new rule ensures that all teams contribute to Pirelli's development process and that no one gets a secret advantage by skipping tyre R&D. And of course, this also helps prevent the usual data hoarding games. It's a rare moment of forced collaboration in F1, which, as we know, is a sport where teams would hide tyre data from their own shadows if they could. With this FIA twisty collaboration rule, let's dive into the technical world of 2026 regulations. But don't worry, you will get the driver's drama along with the information too.